You are currently inhabiting a biological state of strategic vulnerability, and it is the primary reason your dynastic expansion has reached a terminal, artificial ceiling. You believe that relationships are a pursuit of emotional fulfillment, romance, or social companionship. This is a terminal, civilizational hallucination. In the raw, unyielding arena of the persistence hunt, a partner is either a synergistic asset that amplifies your metabolic yield, or a biological parasite that liquidates your energy from the inside out. There is no middle ground. You are currently dating or searching, while the environment is using your need for attachment as a backdoor for extraction. We are now precepting the parasite checklist, showing you why your empathy is a terminal leak of your potential and how the apex predator utilizes relational sifting to move from the frequency of the victim to the frequency of the sovereign union. You are currently attached, and the parasite is preparing to hollow you out. Your brain is an ancient mechanism. Thousands of years ago, a partner was a second sentinel, the one who watched your back while you slept and shared the metabolic cost of the hunt. This was functional symbiosis, but the modern world has performed a neural hijack on this circuit. It has replaced functional survival with synthetic drama and emotional extraction. When you enter a relationship with a parasite, your brain receives a false signal of security. It perceives the intimacy as a high-density resource. This is a biological error. A parasite does not provide energy. It provides noise. It uses your attachment reflex to bypass your hierarchical filter, gaining access to your time, your capital, and your focus without ever contributing to the stronghold. You are currently in love, and your internal command center has been compromised. The first mark of the parasite is the lack of territorial respect. In the physics of power, every sovereign must possess a private coordinate, a space, a schedule, and a strategic intent that is close to the swarm. The parasite views your autonomy as a threat to its extraction. It utilizes emotional encroachment to dissolve your boundaries. It demands total transparency and constant communication to ensure you are never in a state of informational silence. This is not love. It is surveillance. By forcing you to be always visible, the parasite prevents you from sequestering your potential. It keeps your nervous system in a state of high-frequency distraction, ensuring that your will is perpetually reactive to its needs. If your partner cannot respect the den, they are not a partner. They are a spy for the matrix. Consider the biology of the cortisol strike. A toxic partner utilizes volatility as a clinical tool for metabolic sabotage by creating artificial crises, arguments over nothing, sudden emotional withdrawals, or testing your loyalty. They force your brain into a state of chronic cortisol arousal. In this state, your apex circuitry is dormant. You cannot think strategically, you cannot execute the hunt, and you cannot annex matter because you are too busy managing the interaction. You are trading your dynastic energy to keep the peace in a relationship that shouldn't exist. This is the parasite's tax. They drain your testosterone and replace it with anxiety, turning a warrior into a janitor of drama. The apex predator understands that peace in the den is a non-negotiable requirement for war in the world. If the den is a source of friction, the den must be amputated. You must analyze the neurochemistry of the love bomb. The parasite often enters your life with a high-voltage dopamine strike. They mirror your values, they amplify your ego, and they provide an intense social validation that triggers a submissive reward response. This is neural grooming. It is designed to create an addiction to their presence so that when the extraction begins, you are too chemically compromised to leave. You believe you have found a soulmate, but you have actually found a metabolic vacuum. The sovereign man audits the entry speed of every partner. He understands that high-voltage attachment is usually a mask. He does not seek sparks. He seeks reliability and predictability. He values the partner who is static and strong over the one who is electric and erratic. The architecture of the parasite checklist requires the clinical observation of resource reciprocity. In a predatory landscape, every interaction must result in a net gain of force for the dynasty. The sovereign partner brings intel, skills, network density, and metabolic stillness. They are a force multiplier. The parasite brings requirements, complaints, financial leaks, and emotional noise. They are a force divisor. If you are the only one providing the fuel for the relationship while the other is only providing the exhaust, you are undergoing biological liquidation. You are being farmed for your surplus. The apex predator does not support a parasite. He filters them. He has the coldness to ask, what is the ROI of this union? If the answer is zero, the union is dead. The matrix of 2026 has produced a generation of organisms that have specialized in relational extraction. They utilize the language of healing, boundaries, and self-care to justify their selfishness and their lack of contribution. They want the benefits of the stronghold without the responsibility stability of the garrison. This is strategic parasitism. They are looking for a host to fund their experience, while they provide zero security in return. You must reach a point of informational asymmetry where you can see through the social script and identify the predatory intent. You must stop listening to what they say and start auditing what they do to your net capacity. If your capacity goes down when they are near, they are a leak. The neurobiology of the lordship requires you to be the primary source of your own law. When you are with a parasite, your internal law is perpetually adjusted to accommodate their fragility. This is hierarchical decay. You are allowing a subordinate variable to govern the apex variable. To break the loop, you must perform a total metabolic reallocation. You must stop saving the partner and start building the empire. For those ready to fuel their sovereign expansion and move beyond the drama trap of the unevolved, the Protocol 260 provides the clinical architecture for constructing automated digital empires that function as your primary status generators. It is the structured roadmap for the sovereign who intends to have the economic force to be aggressively choosy. While the unevolved realize they have been hollowed out by a parasite, the sovereign has already locked his den and secured his yield. Recognition of this biological requirement is the only way out of the mud. You must move from the horizontal plane of the dating pool to the vertical axis of the dynastic union. You must stop finding a partner and start recruiting a second-in-command. The hunt is not a social event. It is a specific target acquisition of loyalty, utility, and force. You must decide what you are. Are you the host that is being drained, or the sovereign who commands the synergy? The primal code is not about nice guys. It is about functional empires. Find the partner who hardens your perimeter and put all your metabolic weight on them. Stand up, audit your emotional leaks, and begin the final sifting of your social kingdom. The abyss is waiting for the attached, but the stronghold is waiting for the sovereign. We must now presect the specific phenotypes of the biological parasite and the high-frequency tactics they utilize to infiltrate the stronghold. You believe that identifying a toxic partner is a matter of intuition or red flags. This is a terminal civilizational hallucination. In the raw, unyielding arena of the persistence hunt, toxic behavior is a clinical mechanism of energy extraction. A parasite does not choose to be toxic. It is biologically programmed to find the weak point in your perimeter and latch onto your surplus. You are currently looking for love, while the predators are looking for a host. We are now analyzing the specific categories of extraction, showing you how the apex predator utilizes clinical observation to identify the leak before it becomes a systemic collapse. You are currently vulnerable, and the environment is preparing to audit your cost of attachment. The first phenotype is the helpless scavenger. This organism utilizes weakness as its primary weapon of force. It presents itself as fragile, broken, or traumatized to bypass your hierarchical filter. It triggers your protector reflex, forcing you to allocate your metabolic surplus to its recovery rather than your expansion. Every hour you spend saving this partner is an hour you have stolen from the construction of your dynasty. This is strategic sabotage disguised as vulnerability. The parasite knows that as long as you are busy fixing them, you are too distracted to fix the matrix. They want your strength to be a subsidy for their stagnation. The sovereign man understands that true strength is a prerequisite for entry. He does not run an emotional infirmary. He commands a strategic garrison. If a partner requires constant maintenance, they are not a partner. They are a thermal sink. The second phenotype is the status competitor. This parasite does not want your resources. It wants your hierarchical inertia. It feels a biological threat every time you annex a new coordinate or increase your force multiplier. It utilizes micro-sabotage to keep you at its level. It belittles your wins, questions your strategic intent, and creates drama on the eve of your most critical strikes. This is a metabolic anchor. By keeping your nervous system in a state of social doubt, it prevents you from achieving the phase shift dominance required to break the matrix. It wants you to be successful enough to provide, but weak enough to control. The apex predator understands that ambition is a binary filter. If your partner does not view your expansion as their own, they are currently working for the opposition. He chooses the synergy of the strike over the friction of the competition. The third phenotype is the experience extractor. This organism is a dopamine scavenger that views you as a carrier signal for synthetic experiences. They are not interested in the stronghold or the dynasty. They are interested in the lifestyle, the validation, and the high-frequency consumption your force provides. They utilize hedonic encroachment to divert your capital from matter acquisition to transient pleasure. They want the vacation, the status symbol, and the social mirror while you are trying to garrison the future. This is capital evaporation. Every dollar spent on synthetic validation is is a dollar that cannot be used to buy the stone. The sovereign man recognizes that comfort is the lube of the matrix. He does not seek a consumer partner. He seeks a builder partner. He values the one who wants to own the earth over the one who wants to post the earth. We must analyze the biology of the gaslighting strike. The parasite utilizes informational chaos to compromise your OODA loop. By constantly rewriting the history of the interaction, they force your brain into a state of cognitive decoupling. You begin to doubt your own perception of reality, which means you lose the ability to orient and decide. You become strategically blind. This is the ultimate goal of the parasite, to become the primary source of truth for your nervous system. Once they control the information, they control the energy. The apex predator maintains informational sovereignty. He keeps a clinical log of reality. He trusts his internal law over the social static of the partner. If the signal from the partner contradicts the physics of the territory, the signal is discarded. The architecture of the parasite checklist requires you to monitor your net metabolic rate. You must perform a thermal audit of your nervous system before and after every interaction. The sovereign partner leaves you in a state of calm readiness and focus. The parasite leaves you in a state of exhaustion, anxiety, and mental fog. This is not emotion. This is biological feedback. Your nervous system is informing you that a strike has occurred against your life force. You are currently losing the persistence hunt because your den is infested with neural parasites. For those ready to fuel their physical entrenchment and move beyond the drama economy, the Protocol 260 provides the clinical architecture for constructing automated YouTube AI empires. This is the economic filter that allows you to be aggressively choosy. When your yield is automated and your base is secure, you no longer have the biological desperation to accept a parasite into your perimeter. You move from the frequency of the needy to the frequency of the chooser. The final phenotype is the chaos generator. This organism is addicted to the cortisol rush of the conflict. It has no internal law, so it seeks to define itself through the resistance it creates in others. It utilizes randomized provocation to ensure you are never in a state of strategic stillness. It wants your will to be fractured. The sovereign man understands that sovereignty requires silence. He cannot govern the substrate if he is busy managing the noise. He seeks the high-voltage synergy, where two sovereigns combine their hierarchical mass to crush the matrix. He understands that a union is not a social contract, it is a force merger. If the merger results in entropy, the merger is dissolved with clinical coldness. The neurobiology of the lordship requires you to be the architect of the boundary. Most of you have a soft perimeter because you are afraid of being alone. This is isolation phobia, a prehistoric bug that makes you accept the parasite to avoid the thermal scan of the abyss. But in 2026, the abyss is where the sovereign is forged. You must be willing to stand in the informational silence of your own company until a synergistic peer is identified. You must reach a point of hormonal independence where your serotonin is internalized and your dopamine is system linked. This makes you unmanipulatable. The parasite cannot find a hook in a man who does not need the validation of the swarm. You are heavy, you are spiky, you are apex. Recognition of this biological requirement is the only way out of the mud. You must move from the horizontal plane of the dating pool to the vertical axis of the dynastic recruitment. You must stop dating and start auditing. The hunt is not a social experiment. It is a specific target acquisition of loyalty, utility, and territorial integrity. You must decide what you are. Are you the host that is being drained by a toxic variable, or the sovereign who commands a force-multiplying union? The primal code is not about nice people. It is about functional empires. Find the partner who hardens your perimeter and put all your metabolic weight on them. Stand up, audit your attachment leaks, and begin the final sifting of your social kingdom. The abyss is waiting for the attached, but the stronghold is waiting for the sovereign. We have reached the terminal coordinate of the relational hunt, the absolute boundary where the metabolic debt of the attached is finally called for liquidation. You must realize that the environment of 2026 is a high-frequency status audit designed to vaporize the emotionally compromised and the transparent. In the raw, unyielding arena of the persistence hunt, the parasite is the internal saboteur that ensures your perimeter is always breached. You are currently inhabiting a state of relational ghosting, existing in a union where your energy is being diverted to a variable you do not control, which means your dynasty is perpetually vulnerable to the fluctuations of the hierarchy. You believe that working on the relationship is a form of dedication, but in the physics of power, repairing a leaking bucket is merely delayed drowning. We are now analyzing the final final architecture of the relational amputation, showing you why the silence of the den and the synergy of the peer are the only hard filters against the coming resets. You are currently compromising, and the environment is preparing to inhale your fragmented will. The human nervous system is currently being subjected to a strategic sifting. The Matrix has realized that the den, the primary unit of biological stabilization, is the ultimate bottleneck of force. By flooding the social landscape with high conflict variables and extraction phenotypes, the giants have effectively disarmed the sovereign man from within. If your partner is a source of friction rather than a source of stillness, you possess zero hierarchical inertia. You are a variable that can be adjusted by the emotional law of the parasite. The sovereign man, however, understands the biology of the garrison. He recognizes that his will requires a secure base of operations to survive the thermal scans of the state and the bank. He does not date for the future, he recruits the future. He converts his relational surplus into functional force. He understands that in the final settlement, a partner who does not amplify the strike is a partner who is currently assisting the matrix. He has moved from the volatility of romance to the continuity of the union. The transition from a host to a sovereign requires the immediate execution of relational apoptosis, the programmed death of the parasitic connection. You are taught that ending a relationship is a failure. This is a slave protocol designed to keep the unevolved from ever cleaning the den. The hierarchy loves the loyal victim because he is static. He is too busy saving the relationship to ever annex territory. The sovereign predator understands that amputation is a celebration of mobility. If the partner is a thermal leak, the connection is severed with clinical coldness. He does not argue, he does not justify, and he does not negotiate. He simply withdraws the resource. He identifies the parasitic attachment and he cuts the frequency. He understands that the pain of the amputation is a one-time metabolic cost, while the pain of the parasite is a terminal strategic decay. Consider the architecture of the sovereign pair. In a predatory landscape, the only viable union is one of force multiplication. The sovereign pair is an organism that has already achieved internal sovereignty. They do not need you for validation or survival. They choose you for dynastic expansion. They bring their own specialization, their own intel, and their own hierarchical mass to the union. When two sovereigns combine, they create a binary star system, a coordinate of such high status density that the matrix cannot digest it. This is the primal code of the union. It is the realization that a partner is not an experience to be consumed, but a second sentinel to be deployed. If the union does not result in a net gain of power and stillness, the union is a mathematical failure. The architecture of your dynasty requires you to move from social attachment to spatial sovereignty. You must sequestrate your internal world. You must stop being visible and emotionally available to the scavengers and start being heavy and hidden. You must find the coordinate where your will and the partner's utility are perfectly aligned, and you must build your stronghold there. This is the sequestration of the den. By owning the niche and owning the union, you have created a sovereign vacuum. For those ready to fuel their physical entrenchment through the mastery of the digital hunt, the Protocol 260 provides the clinical architecture for constructing automated YouTube AI empires that function as your primary status acquisition engines. It is the structured roadmap for the sovereign who intends to use the fluidity of the digital to secure the solidness of the physical. You use the flow to build the fortress that no parasite can breach. By the time the unevolved realize they have been hollowed out by their partners, the sovereign has already locked his den and secured his yield. We must observe the neurochemistry of the void. After the amputation of the parasite, the nervous system enters a state of withdrawal. The matrix utilizes this loneliness signal to force the organism back into the dating loop. This is isolation phobia. The sovereign man understands that the void is a strategic filter. He utilizes the silence to recalibrate his frame and garrison his nervous system. He does not fill the gap with another scavenger. He occupies the space with mastery and matter. He reaches a point of hormonal independence where his serotonin is no longer externalized to the feedback of a partner. This independence is what makes him the apex recruiter. He does not ask a partner to join him. He offers a seat in the stronghold. This is the ultimate status signal to the hierarchy. The entropy of the romance narrative is the final cage. The giants have compressed the masses into emotional consumption loops to ensure that the labor surplus is wasted on synthetic drama. In the romance matrix, you have zero territorial sovereignty. You are subjected to the social infection of the swarm through your partner's anxiety. This is relational sabotage. The apex predator seeks the isolation of the core. He builds a perimeter that acts as a biological filter. He and his peer decide what information and what energy is allowed to cross their threshold. They have achieved atmospheric sovereignty. They are the sensors of their own environment, and their internal law is the only frequency that matters. They are not dating in a world they don't control. They are ruling ruling a world they own. Recognition of this biological requirement is the only way out of the mud. You must move from the horizontal plane of the dating pool to the vertical axis of the dynastic recruitment. You must stop finding love and start building the garrison. The hunt is not a global search. It is a specific target acquisition of loyalty, utility, and territorial mass. You must decide what you are. Are you the dust that is blown by the emotional storm of the parasite, or the stone that breaks the wind? The primal code is not about nice relationships. It is about functional empires. Find the partner who hardens your perimeter and put all your metabolic weight on them. Stand up, audit your attachment leaks, and begin the final sifting of your social kingdom. The abyss is waiting for the attached, but the stronghold is waiting for the sovereign.